Hi everyone, welcome back to a new video lesson. I hope you're all doing great, and today we're going to start with unit number 5, which is called Your Space. In this unit we're going to be talking about cities, neighborhoods, and homes. Alright, so the first activity that we have here is to identify certain common places within a city. Alright, so here we have 4 images A, B, C, and D of different cities in the world. We have the province of San Luis in Argentina, Buenos Aires in Argentina, Paisville, Malta, and London in the UK. Right? So here we have some vocabulary. Let's see. We have an airport, a beach, a bridge, a bus stop, a farm, a forest, a hospital, a lake, a market, a motorway, mountains, a river, a school, the sea, and a train station. So look at the images and try to find 6 of these things in pictures A, B, C, and D. In image A, we have mountains and a forest, right? We have a forest here and then the mountains. In picture B, we have a market, right? This is the market. This is the market of San Telmo. For the ones who have visited Buenos Aires, is a very common place to visit in that city. Then we have here a beach, right? A beach and the sea, right? And in the last image, we have a bridge and the river, right? This bridge goes across the river. Very good. Now, try to think about how far are these things from the pictures, from the place where you are now. Do you have mountains near your house? A forest? Maybe a market? Do you live near the ocean? Is there a bridge near your home? Now, we're going to do a reading activity now. You're going to read an article about Jose Luis and Lawrence. First, pause the video, read the article, and try to answer this question. Where do they live and work? And if you look at the title, you're going to have a clue. The title says, I live here, but I work 800 kilometers away, right? So they live and work in different places. Now pause the video and answer this question. Are you ready? So let's see. First we have Jose Luis. Jose Luis lives in a small village in San Luis, right? I'm going to highlight it here. He lives in a small village in San Luis, right? And he works in Buenos Aires, right? And then we have Lawrence, right? Lawrence works in London, right? But he lives in a different country. He lives in Malta, right? There we have it. Very good. Now, I'm going to show you some specific questions now about this reading. So read the text again and answer these questions about Jose Luis and Lawrence. If you want, you can write down these questions and then go back the video to see the text again. So let's see. The first question says, how long are their journeys? So for Jose Luis, their journey takes about 14 hours of traveling. And for Lawrence, it takes him 3 to 4 hours to travel from one place to another. How many times a week do they travel? Well, both of them travel 2 times a week. 2 times a week, right? When do they travel? When? Jose Luis travels on Friday and Sunday nights. Friday and Sunday nights. And Lawrence travels on Monday morning and on Thursday evening. On Monday morning and then on Thursday evening. What do they have near their homes? Well, near Jose Luis' home, there is a river and mountains. Yes? And near Lawrence's home, there is the sea, a school, and an airport. Number 5. Who do they live with? Both of them live with their wives and children. And the last question says, why do they live and work in different places? Well, Jose Luis says that his village is safe, quiet, and cheaper. And Lawrence says that they can have a bigger house and that it is a nicer place to live. Right? Now, do you know anyone like Jose Luis or Lawrence? Do you live near the place where you work or study? Nowadays, it's very common for students, especially, to travel from another city and rent a house near the universities, right? In our university, we have a lot of students that come from the north of the country or the south, and they have to rent a home or an apartment, right? So they can live closer to the place where they study. And not, of course, we have also some cases of people who live in Limache, right, Quillota, and they travel every single day to university. So that is a long distance as well, right? Especially if you're traveling by bus or by train. Now, here we have some words that we can use to describe places. The idea is for you to try to find the opposite word of the ones that you have here, right? You can find opposites in the article. So if you don't know the words, you can go back at the article and read again. I'm going to play the recording for you so you can check your answers.
Track 2.
Boring.
Exciting.
Safe.
Dangerous.
Noisy.
Quiet.
Expensive.
Cheap.
Ugly.
Beautiful.
Polluted.
Clean.
Very good. So I'm going to leave some articles on the Aula Virtual where you can see more words that can be useful to describe the place where you live. Try to imagine or think about the place where you live or where you are currently and try to choose some of the words that would describe the place. Right? So for example, if you live in Santiago, probably you would use the word polluted, right? Maybe you live in a dangerous place. Valparaiso can be very exciting if you think about all the activities that you have there, right? Very good. Now let's move on to talk now about prepositions. So we're going to be studying prepositions of place. And here we have some examples of just a few prepositions that you can use to describe the location of a specific place, right? So we have in, which means kind of like inside, right? We use in to talk about cities, right? Or countries or bigger places, right? When something is inside a place, inside a city, we use the preposition in. For example, Valparaíso is in Chile, right? We use on to talk about something that is above another thing, right? This has to do with perspective. So, for example, you can say that you live on the train rail, right? Or that you live on the river if you think that your house is above the river, right? Sobre algo. Esto tiene que ver con la perspectiva, ¿sí? Si mi casa está ubicada sobre la línea del tren, por ejemplo, o un río, ¿cierto? Hay una perspectiva y ahí vamos a usar on. We use from when we want to talk about distance or time, right? When we're going to talk about distance between point A and point B or time between point A and point B, right? So for example, I can say I live or my house is 10 minutes from the train station, right? That means that I can walk to the train station and that would take me about 10 minutes. Then we have the expression next to. That is when you have two things right beside each other. So for example, my house is next to my neighbor's house, right? But you can also have, sometimes you don't have neighbors, you have a hospital or a supermarket, right? So when we have two things very closely together, one next to the other, right? We're going to use this preposition. And when things are just close, not necessarily one after the other, but just close in general, we're going to use the preposition near. For near, we don't use to after that, right? I don't say I live near to the station. I say my house is near the station, right? Cercano, that would be in Spanish. So now pause the video and complete these sentences with one of the prepositions that you see there. Are you ready? So let's see. So number one we have José Luis Garcia lives in a small village in the province of San Luis, right? He lives inside the village, inside again of the province of San Luis. The village is on the Chorrillos River, right? Because it is above, está sobre, ¿cierto? Near the mountains. The mountains are near the house. Our new place in Malta is next to the sea. That means it's very, very close. Maybe you cross the street and then you get to the sea, right? And then we have it's 5 minutes from the kids' school. Of course, these are just a few examples. I'm going to leave you more exercises on the aula virtual so you can keep practicing prepositions, all right? Now, here we have some groups of expressions. So we have group 1, group 2, 3, 4, and 5. What I want you to do is to decide which preposition we're going to use with the entire group. And we have only two options, in and on, right? So try to think about these groups of expressions and decide which is the correct one, in or on. Pause the video so you can have more time to do the exercise. Are you ready? So let's check. We have number 1. I live in a village, in a town, in a city, in the city center or in the country, right? Bigger places, and I live inside that place. For number 2, I also use the preposition in the north or in the south of Argentina, in the east or the west of the city, because we're talking about bigger areas, right? Then we have number 3, that would be I live on, that your house is above the road to Mendoza, above the river, right, and above the metro line, on the road, on the river, on the metro line. No se confundan, no significa que la casa queda precisamente sobre la línea del metro, ¿cierto? Pero quizás es algo muy cercano y por el tema de la perspectiva vamos a usar on, porque no estamos hablando de lugares grandes donde mi casa está inmersa, ¿cierto? Sino que estamos hablando de la perspectiva en la que mi casa se encuentra, alright? For number 4, we have I live in a flat, in an apartment, or in a house. Yes, remember that flats and apartments are synonyms, right? Flat is more used in British English. And then for number 5, we're going to say again on. I live on the ground floor or on the 10th floor. The ground floor is what we in Chile will call the first floor, right? Piso uno or el piso suelo, right? It has different names depending on the country, right? So we will call in Chile the first floor, but in other countries that would be the ground floor or the floor 0, right? Now, this is the homework for you. We're going to be talking about this in our next session. It says write 5 or 6 sentences about where you live, work, or study. Try to use, of course, the prepositions, right? Then again, try to think about these questions. Where do you live? Do you like it? Why or why not? And here we can use the examples of adjectives. For example, if you like the place because it's exciting, because it's safe, or it's clean, or maybe not because it's very polluted and dangerous and expensive, right? Where do you work or study? Do you like it? Why or not? And where would you like to live, work, or study? If you had the opportunity to change the place where you live now for another one, where that would be. Yes, think about that. What makes a great city or village for you? So that is the end of today's lesson. Remember that if you have any question, you can always contact me at my email. And I will see you very, very soon with another video. Bye bye.